Move on. And we are going to ask if we all have a duty to stop watering our gardens during dry periods of weather. 02078 862 2222. That is the number. Give us a ring. Residents in the Derbyshire village of Youlgreave have reportedly welcomed a hosepipe ban after a 2-month spell of dry weather. The northwest of England, believe this or not, was officially declared in drought by the Environment Agency last week. Yesterday, it was confirmed that this year's spring has been the hottest and sunniest on record. 40% of Europe is reportedly to be at risk of drought at the moment. Should we all be trying to use less water? I always get caught with this. Is this our responsibility, or is this because the water companies have let us down so badly over the last few years?
For me, the latter, infrastructure. As it is with so many things in this country, and it's not this Labour government's fault, it's successive governments, it's once you privatise industries, companies want to serve the shareholders and the big bosses their own bonuses, things suffer. We have an increasing population, 68 million people. I'd like to bet you that in percentage terms, the amount of reservoirs, for example, that we have across the UK is not proportionate to the size that the population has grown over the last 30 years. We need more reservoirs. We need infrastructure that is not leaking all over the place. We need these companies to take responsibility for what they're doing, not, in the case of one chief executive, rewarding himself for enormous failure with a huge salary, not expecting us, the customers, to bail them out. This is a systemic problem within the water industry in this country. Up until the last 4 or 5 summers, maybe. I'm not a climate change conspirative.
Are you making an argument for nationalisation, Russ?
What I'm saying is, yes, they've had their playtime and they've been very, very bad at it.
You'd return it to the country?
Yes,
I don't want it. By the way, the debts are so massive.
Exactly,
that the
that's
government's
the
like, no, we can't afford to renationalise the water. Do you know what the travesty is? That if you take the whole span of Europe, we are one of the most water, give or take the last couple of months of dry, we are one of the most water-rich countries on or in this continent.
Correct.
And yet, nobody, no private equity firm will touch most of our water companies with a barge pole. That is what happens, by the way, when you nationalise a company that has a monopoly. There is no incentive to invest and deliver the best product for your clients because you have a monopoly. Thames Water supplies 1/4 of Britain with its water, and it is £20 billion in debt. And yes, I will be the sucker who doesn't use a water hose this summer.
You would do that.
I will use the watering can because Thames Water won't take responsibility, so we have to. How wrong is that?
Okay.
How wrong is that?
Listen, don't go anywhere because we're taking your calls on that after the break. As Tessa says, is it our duty to stop watering our gardens during periods of hot weather, or should the companies carry the watering can? 0207 862 2222. That's the Michael's in East Yorkshire. Not known traditionally as a drought area, Michael. Are you still getting plenty of rain? Enough? Has it been a dry spring?
It's been all right, really. We've just had a good downpour today, and yesterday we had a good downpour. But I still save water. For me to get hot water in my bathroom, I can fill up at least 2 decent-sized buckets. And I do this on a regular basis in my bungalow. I live in a bungalow, and I'm saving a fair bit of water. And I use it for flushing the toilets with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, and it sounds great. Here's the thing I wonder, though, Michael. When you're taking rainwater, yeah, and you're using that for your bath, you're heating it up for the bath.
No. For me to get hot water from my system, it takes a long time for it to go through the system.
Right.
So I get nearly 2 buckets of water for me to get hot water into the bathroom.
Right.
Right.
I've got you. So, Michael, you are recycling your water, and why isn't everybody doing what you're doing, do you think?
Because some people are too lazy, shall we say. It could have been other words, but they're too lazy. And if they come from a family of like 3 or 4 in a bathroom trying to do that, it could be they soon fill up tubs You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. What persuaded you to do it this way? What made you think this is... Was it the environment, climate change? Was it your water bills? You know, are you metered?
It was my water bill. Before I went onto a water bill, I was paying nearly £400.
Yeah.
So I went onto a water meter, and it's still my responsibility to try and keep the cost down.
Right, OK.
But what annoys me the most thing, I was walking past this house and I could hear like somebody having a shower on a regular basis. So I phoned up Yorkshire Water and I told them, I said, when I've gone past this house, it sounds like if there's a bath just running water. Now, I don't know if it's a water leak or out like that. So then after about 3 weeks, I went past and I could still hear it. I phoned up Yorkshire Water and they said, oh, we went to it. It's not to do with us. It's to do with the council. Why didn't the Yorkshire Water phone up the council and tell them?
Well, I don't know, but you're now looking into water wastage on other people's property as well. There may be a line that's being crossed there, Michael.
I love that.
I would say, but you're clearly on the case. Interesting. Thank you for your call, Michael. Interesting that it is the financial element. We're all talking about how water bills going up. That's what's persuading people they have to do things differently.
Yes.
That's the companies actually affecting change. We might not like it, but they're bringing about a change by raising the prices.
Well, they are, but they haven't to raise prices because they can't even do the bare minimum on infrastructure unless they have to. They're saddled with huge debt. And so we have to pay the price. And people like that caller and many others have got water butts and find inventive ways of collecting water and using water. And I think it's the way of the world.
Isn't it interesting, though? So for some reason that made me giggle, that call, because the idea of Michael is going to be the first citizen's arrest for having too long a shower.
It's just around the corner. What I like about what Michael's saying there is something mad that we have got into the habit of using drinking quality water to water our gardens and, you know, to flush the toilet. And I just wonder if, much though we hate what the company's doing with our bills, it is the driver that's going to make us think differently.
You're right. The kind of question of grey water and what to do with it, and the fact that our systems don't actually acknowledge. If you think everything's flushed away as if it's the same quality, well, your water that's got a poo in it is very different water quality than that you've used to wash up, or just the water that drains away when you're cleaning your teeth and you've forgotten to turn the tap on in between brushing. But just quickly, how are we all personally on water usage, girls and boys? Because I...
Do you know what? This is incredible. We were talking about it in the break, and she's asked this question because you are a little minx. I have a bath every day of the week.
OK. But luckily you're very...
But I don't use my hose.
You're very slim, Russ, so it's a very shallow bath. Let's take another call. Melanie's in Manchester. Melanie.
Hi.
Hiya. Is it our responsibility, should we be voluntarily stopping using our hose pipes this summer?
No, definitely not. I think I pay £61 a month for my water, and I live in Manchester. And as you know, Manchester's the rainy city of the UK. And then we're being told, oh, hold off, don't use your water. It's the water company's incompetence that has led to this. But they're still getting the bonuses and things. And, yeah, I'm paying £61 a month, and I'm not allowed to use it properly. And that's before the bill goes up.
So
Going up soon.
Melanie's got a great point here, is that when it comes to the winter, Tess, we're all going to turn around and say, why are all our cities flooding? OK, so there's plenty of water, it's just at the wrong time. The idea that Manchester, which, do you remember Granada TV?
Yeah.
The chap bought the Granada TV licence because it said it's going to rain every night, everyone will be in watching telly.
Yeah.
That's Manchester. Every house has got a rooftop pool. So isn't it ridiculous? Isn't it ridiculous that the water she's got in winter too much, she's paying for their mistakes of managing it?
This problem is born of national complacency because we presume we will have an abundance of water, and it has been governed appallingly since privatisation. We've squandered our main national asset, H2O, we literally flush it down the drain every day. Do you know that Thames Water had a record Ofwat fine this year, a staggering £123 million because of polluting leaks? So forget
Quite right.
Russ watching his bits and bobs, washing his bits and bobs every day. That is one leak. But £120 million worth of Thames Water leaks, wrong paid dividends to shareholders.
Yeah,
and pollutants.
absolutely.
It's criminal.
Yeah, but-
and yet we blame Melanie in Manchester and Russ in London.
Well, yeah, Melanie is paying £60 a month, so £720-30 a year, living in one of the rainiest areas of this country.
No, Scotland.
OK.
Manchester won't be far off it, and the lakes, not far away, right? And I live in the south, and I'll openly admit I pay half of that. How can that be right?
Well, listen, it's been a very... it's taken us places I didn't think it would, this debate. Suddenly we're soap-shaming Russ Williams.
Yes.
Thank you for all of your calls on this.